grandfather was born here. My dad was born here. My grandfather worked for the railroad years ago, which is what basically put Ayer on the map, which is why I think it's crazy when people say, I hear horns. I'm thinking, be glad that it's here. My grandparents grew up on West Main Street, and my mom and dad rented their first house when they got married lower on West Main Street, closer to the main gate. And from when I was a child, all I remember is growing up on Devon's, because Devon's was always here. And back in the day, when the town was smaller, I knew everybody growing up, I think, because my dad knew everybody growing up. And now, of course, it's gotten much bigger, and that's not the case. I went to St. Mary's School till 6th grade, and then made the big jump to public school because my parents thought it would be better. And so I went to Ayer Junior High when it was Ayer Junior High, and then Ayer High School, and graduated in '73. Went to Fitchburg State, which I call my 4-year vacation. Graduated from Fitchburg in '77 and returned to Ayer Sky in '77 to teach for the next 36 years. I taught 2 years in junior high school back in the day, but all the rest of the time I taught in the high school, which I loved. I think it was the best job. There were ups and downs. There was always years where when you're the baby, there was always a chance of getting laid off. The only time that happened was, I forget why, and I think it was before Devon's closing, because that happened, I think, not sure, like early 90s. I don't even remember when the base closed.
I think it was 94.
Was it 94?
Yeah.
And I loved having the Devon's kids. Well, I went to school with Devon's kids, so I taught Devon's kids, and I always used to think that our kids from Ayer and Shirley were people of the world, even if they never left their towns, because they were always exposed to all different cultures, races, and religions. And I remember when I first started teaching in the 70s that, there'd be like racial incidences like in Boston, and I used to think if there was a fight in the cafeteria early on in the days, usually it was over a boy, or it had nothing to do with like skin color. And I always thought it was just so healthy. It was just a healthy place to grow up. And I remember the trends for multicultural literature, and when multiculturalists started getting bandied about, I remember telling parents at like school committee meetings, we lived multicultural. I mean, I'm so glad that the literature expanded as the years went on, but it was just great exposure, I think, for small town kids. I've been here my whole life. I don't know what else to say.
How did class sizes change? Like, how many kids did you have?
Oh my God, class sizes. In the years of Devon's, class size, I had the most kids. I remember one year next to Jim, and we were like bursting at the seams back in the day, but we always made do, and there was, scrambling. But then when Devon's closed and numbers dwindled, class sizes became, you'd have some tiny classes, but I'd say then things balanced out, and I'd say we would have an average of probably 24, 25 kids in a class. And the advantage I had for the humanities class that I taught, if we had a large class, it was team taught, co-taught, and so you could, if need be, you could switch off days and class numbers with sizes. Um, Certainly, the advantage of having a small size is I got to know the kids better as the years went on. The days of Devon's, I was lucky to know my own name. First of all, I was a young teacher just starting out, but there were so many kids that came and went, you couldn't possibly know them on a more, not personal, sound creepy, but you got to know your students better, so I think you were better adjust their needs. I feel bad for kids who maybe slipped through the crack because the numbers were so big that you didn't get the personal attention.
How many people did you graduate with in Ayer?
My class?
Yeah.
Oh, you're asking the wrong person, but I can get back to you on that. Bill Noeth. Bill Noeth was the smartest kid in my class, and he had a photographic memory. To this day, he can tell you. I don't know, but I'll let you know. I'll get.
Because I think when I graduated, the year you retired, I had like 69 in my graduating class.
I think you might have been one of the smallest classes.
Yeah.
And then I think it's gone up from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it that tiny, Maggie, huh? 69. Wow.
Yep.
And I don't know if there's so many memories I wouldn't be able to pack them all in 36 years, but anyways, it was a great job. However, I'm glad I started when I did and ended when I did, because once things became MCAS and started teaching to the test and computers, my God, I was in the days of mimeograph machines, and I remember just covering myself in blue ink. And I used to go to work. When my very first started, I would go to work in the morning, I'd come home and eat supper, and I would go back and leave with the janitors at night so that I could get my copying done. Donnie Miller was one of the janitors, and would walk out together, whatever time that was. And then came computers, which I never thought I would learn, and thank God for kids because they helped with the learning curve. And then by the time I left, it was cell phones and telling them, keep it in your pocket. And at least I was only at the infancy of that. Now, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you compete. And I don't think it's healthy for kids. I don't. I know maybe I'm showing my age, but it really just... I remember being in middle school when I grew up, when I was in 7th grade. And God, it was such a hard age. And I used to think, I'm not dressed, I don't have those cool clothes, or I have a zit, or who are my friends, or I don't have a boyfriend, and I think those growing pains were hard enough, and to do it now with social media,
with it being recorded,
I don't know how the kids do it. It's unfortunate, but it's the way of the world, and I guess you just have to adapt.
Was it junior, senior high school the whole time you were teaching until we regionalized?
Yes. No, I take it back. It turned to Ayer Middle. So at one point they changed the school to Ayer Middle School. And then so it was always Ayer Junior Senior, and then it was Ayer Middle and Ayer High School. And then we merged and it was Ayer Shirley.
Did you have to move your classroom a lot, or?
Constantly.
Yeah.
I've been in every room of that school.
Oh my God.
Yep, I was downstairs, I was upstairs, I was 255. When it used to be when I went to school, 155 and 255 were like the lecture halls. And then they divided them, like 155A, 155B. And then, 157, 258, 156. I mean, give me a number, come on. I take it back, I was not in the industrial arts wing. I was never there because that was strictly for IA and art. Oh, and I was never in the home ec wing. But other than that, yes.
Because I remember it was junior, senior, and I started in 5th grade. And then I think by the time I was in 8th grade, 5th grade went over across the parking lot.
Yeah.
And then by the time I was in high school, the middle school got moved.
Yeah.
And then my last 2 years, it was Ayer Shirley.
Middle school got moved.
To Shirley.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was that still when you were there?
Yeah, because we
Wow.
officially regionalized in 2011.
All the
So the class of 2011 was the last Ayer High School.
So,
And then,
so you were the last year of high school?
no,
No, you weren't.
'cause I was
You had 2 years.
13.
Yeah.
So they were Ayer High School, and then 2012, 2013 was Ayer Shirley.
Wow.
Yeah.
God. I forget the whole middle school, like, going, till.
Yeah, because half the building was empty
Yeah,
for a couple years.
That's right. Filled up fast, though.
Yep.
And it's funny, now I go in, I went in, because when I was leaving, that's when they were, that was going to be the summer they were starting to tear down the school, like, room by room. And when I went back into the school presently, I had to get my bearings. Like, I had to go the hall that used to be guidance in the main office and the nurse's office. That's how I had to orientate myself, because you could kind of see Washington Street out the windows, because it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
When they, like, I used to walk in the morning when I would walk into school out of the parking lot. I used to think it was like second home. I had spent as much time there. If you added up from when I was in 7th grade in high school and all the time I taught, I had spent as much of my life in that building as I had in my home. And then to go back and not even notice anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it was weird. I mean, and now that building's getting old already.
Yep.
Like, when you think of it.
Yeah, it's because it was knocked down after I graduated.
Yeah.
So.
But it was like the year after. It was after the year. Did Patrick graduate with you?
No.
No.
He was
2
years ahead of me.
So he was 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was your year after then. That's when they started tearing the building
Yep.
down. Yeah.
So I graduated in the old building, but it was Ayer Shirley.
Huh. Wow. And then there's nothing else to add. I retired, enjoyed traveling. I went to Italy, and went to Ireland 4 times. I love both. I used to think I had Italian blood in these Irish veins, because I loved Italy. And I learned Italian.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, enough that I can get by.
Yeah.
And then last year I went to Switzerland, because Connor got married there. Absolutely beautiful. Like, the Alps are just like more incredible. But it's one of those places I was kind of glad I visited. I don't think I would go back. Very most expensive place I've ever been. But I really liked Italy. I mean, if I had a bottomless pocket, I would travel. I think there's nothing like it. It really does. I think people wouldn't be so apt to get on their high horse and think they're all that if they just saw, how other places live. I mean.
I wanted to ask you about the hospital closing, since you're right across the street from it.
That was like a slow death.
Yeah.
I worked there. That was one of my part-time jobs during college and high school. I was always used to it being my neighbor, so it was never like, it was kind of a comfort. It was one I took for granted. Like, even my doctors weren't even there. When it was early on, when I first moved here, my doctor was across the street. And then slowly, when hospital mergers became a thing, my doctors were more affiliated with Emerson and Mass General. So, but it wasn't even that. It was that everybody used that hospital. Like, I was there for my parents. I was there with students. There wasn't a person in this town that didn't see the inside of that hospital, emergency room especially. And I used to bring people over. I would bring them over food. I would bring them over lottery tickets, anything that I like, to try to hope that they could survive and, not not be so down. My heart broke for them. And as many times as I was interviewed, they used to they parked, WCVB parked in my lot. I remember when the nurses wanted to unionize. That was years ago. Then when the hospital closed the intensive care, because they broke it up in bits, that was COVID, which I could never understand how they were closing that. I got interviewed then. I kind of got on a first name basis with Ted Wayans on Channel 5. But a lot of the hospital, a lot of the news people would use, my front of my house or the driveway to stage their stories. And as many times as I was interviewed about Governor Healy, never made the news. And my thing was that one of the last interviews I said, she better hope to know that she would never get a vote in this area. And it wasn't she could have done something, maybe not save it. And I know it's all the filthy, greedy jerks that had taken the money. That wasn't her. However, she didn't even give us the dignity of a visit during all the protests. And for that, I will never forgive her. And you might talk about a thick Irishman. You're looking at one, because I will never forget and never forgive that she didn't even come here and see us and try. My heart broke for those people, and it was like watching. And then I remember looking at the life flight, which I was just so used to, and thinking, I wonder if this is the last life flight. And then when they started taking down the signs, really, it broke, chip by chip. So God knows what it's going to be. And the thing is, I do understand, they're supposed to be putting that new emergency room, stand-alone kind of thing in Groton, which at least would be closer. And I kept saying, well, if they have a medical building that's all over there, but because those idiots didn't put any money into that building, it's like if you leave a house and don't, like you invested in yours, you can't just not. So I'm sure that most of that would have to be gutted before it could even be brought up to code or anything to use again. I'd love to see it be a hospital again, but it's probably doubtful.
Yeah, I know, it's sad.
I know. It was very painful.
All right.
All right, is that good?
Yes,
All right,
thank
probably
you.
more than you needed.